Even though this is an international problem, it's the local politicians who are left to clean up the mess. I went to speak to Reynosa's mayor to ask him what he was doing about the crisis on his doorstep.
We have multiple migrant camps in the whole city that have been modified because of this influx of migrants that has increased over the last year. And we've spent millions of pesos to be able to modify our infrastructure in order to be able to take care of the migrants that are coming in. But it's not enough. We've just been, it's too much for us, for our infrastructure, for our city. We've had a lot of increase in security issues. We've had a lot of increase in HIV and a lot of other sexually transmitted diseases. Prostitution has gone up. Most of them don't want to work. Most of them just want to cross the United States.
In our interview, the mayor also suggested some American aid groups make the problem worse.
But the reality is that they've been there for a whole year without work because we've had NGOs that kind of lied to them, not kind of lied to them, in order for them to just stay there. For some people, that may be newsworthy every day. But for us, it creates a social, a economic problem, a security crisis, and a migration crisis if it's not solved.
The mayor didn't offer specifics, but medical NGOs I spoke to said they had not seen an uptick in either HIV or STDs. What they did confirm is that they know he wants the migrants out. His plan is to evict the people living in the plaza and move them to an old baseball field a mile outside of Reynosa's downtown, which he says will be more comfortable. The mayor didn't explicitly blame President Biden for his problems, but he did say they began after Trump left the White House, and it had something to do with American politics.
Whose fault is it that this is happening?
Well, we don't know whose fault it is, but I can tell you that it's increased significantly since January 2021. I don't know what type of changes have been going on in American U.S. policy, especially in their foreign policy or migration policy.
So how did we get here? The answer has to do with the tortured history of the immigration debate in the U.S.
Finally.
When Donald Trump came into office, he targeted the one thing that most everyone in the camps want: asylum. But what exactly is asylum? America's modern concept of political asylum emerged after World War II, when millions fled Europe during the time of the Nazis. If you were being persecuted in your country, the U.S. would protect you by not sending you back.
The asylum statute says very clearly that any person who is physically present in the United States or who is arriving in the United States, whether or not at a designated port of entry and irrespective of their status, may apply for asylum.
The system is full, and when it's full, there's nothing you can do. You have to say, I'm sorry, we can't take you.
That the problem has been now for years, and starting under the Trump administration, people who wanted to seek asylum were not even allowed to approach a port of entry under a series of policies.
In 2018, Donald Trump turned to metering.
Metering is the practice of limiting the number of people who can apply for asylum through the ports of entry at any given day.
Then, in 2019, the Trump administration implemented the Migrant Protection Protocols, widely known as Remain in Mexico.
May be returned to Mexico for the duration of their immigration proceedings. They will not be able to disappear into the United States.
Rather than block people from entering, this policy allowed migrants into the U.S. They were giving a court notice, but then were immediately sent back to Mexico to wait out their case, which can take years. In March 2020, the Trump administration came up with perhaps its most radical approach to blocking asylum, citing the COVID-19 emergency to shut down the system entirely.
Stephen Miller and Chad Wolf, the then Secretary of Homeland Security, got together along with Mike Pence and a number of others and pressured the Centers for Disease Control to exercise a century-old public health law to block all asylum seekers arriving at the southern border, supposedly to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Tonight, again at midnight, we will execute the CDC order by immediately returning individuals arriving without documentation to Canada, Mexico, as well as a number of other countries without delay.
If you are subject to Title 42, you are simply turned around and sent back to Mexico, or stuck on a plane and sent to your home country. And even if you are sitting there protesting the entire time saying, if you send me back, I'll die, they will just say, tough, that's not our problem. good luck with your torturers. So the key difference between the Remain in Mexico program / MPP and Title 42 is that in Title 42 you get nothing. You are not accessing the asylum process in any way.
President Biden campaigned saying he wanted to restore the asylum process. First, he tried repealing Remain in Mexico, but a Texas court stopped him. And then when his administration reinstated the policy, they made some changes.
One thing the Biden administration did do is make MPP a little bit worse. And it did that by expanding MPP to all Western Hemisphere nationals. It was originally applied only to people from Spanish-speaking countries.
In April 2022, the CDC said the Biden administration would no longer use COVID-19 to block asylum seekers under Title 42. But that decision quickly showed just how divided Democrats are on immigration.
But so far, more than a dozen members of the president's own party have expressed concerns about the administration lifting Title 42.
Some Democrats are worried there will be a surge of migrants when the order is gone. Conservatives say the same thing.
The fact remains, if you get rid of Title 42, the already the worst border crisis in history will turn into absolute chaos. Our sovereignty, our security, our well-being in America is way more important to me than whether somebody out there, a public health scientist who have been wrong throughout this entire thing, mind you, decided whether COVID applies to Title 42 or not. Fact remains, you get rid of it, terrible things are going to happen, so it should stay. It's really that simple for me.
For now, Title 42 will remain in place because a Louisiana federal court blocked the administration from lifting the health order.
We had proposed to eliminate that policy by the end of May. The court has said we can't so far, and what the court says we're going to do.
This amount of gridlock has meant that people continue to pile up in these camps. To many activists like Jennifer Harbury, who has worked on the border for more than 30 years, these policies have created exactly the situation that America sought to avoid after it opened its doors to asylum seekers.
There's a reason we have an asylum statute in this country. We went through World War II, and the world agreed that we don't leave refugees just, dying in the streets with their children. It's just unconscionable. If we want to just go totally barbarian and let these people be eaten alive, basically, then we can do that. But we better live with that, and we have to live with the truth of what we're doing.